You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, that is not what you're looking for when it comes to the start of the 2024-2025 season, as the Houston Rockets hold a 18-point lead at one point in this basketball game and find their way to coughing it up in the second half as they lose the opener to the Charlotte Hornets, the hottest team, by the way, in the NBA in recent years when it comes to winning openers. I believe that's 5 openers in a row that Charlotte's won, which is the current longest streak in the NBA. No matter what, the Rockets tonight had a win against a team that's going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. They had it right there in front of them. I even made up the graphics earlier. Nice and easy. Talk about all the good things tonight. And these, unfortunately, are the kind of things that are going to have the people that are on the edge of wanting to watch the Rockets this season or buying in and believing this is not how you want to start. Simple as that. Hello and welcome to the first regular season edition of the Locked On Rockets Postcast, and I am your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for joining us here on the Locked On Sports Houston page. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button whether you're watching this live or recorded later on. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Rockets Postcast, by the way, is brought to you by the Gametime. The Gametime app, download that today. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, let's go through it. It was a tale of two halves. This team came out in the first half, and they weren't unbelievable in the first half by any means. But they weren't bad by any means. And their second quarter was really good offensively. The first quarter was up and down, but they did all the things they needed to do. They came out of the half with a nice lead. As I mentioned, the lead at one point was 18 points. And it's like they came out in the second half and, they missed everything. And it's like Charlotte went into the locker room and got screamed at or something and told, hey, you're going to go out there and you're going to be more physical than this Rockets team in the second half. And I thought that was the theme of the night more than anything. For a team that, the Rockets absolutely dominated the paint in the first half, whether it was getting boards or simply getting buckets in the paint. And they were doing everything. And then it's like it stopped. And whether it was Alpi not showing up. You had a lot of guys that had really bad nights overall. And then they just kept, look, when they're bad, we know this. This is what they do. They chuck threes, and they miss threes left and right, and it just sometimes does not stop. And it did not stop tonight. And they just could not find it at all. I just don't understand at times how it goes. Now, look, there's the ebbs and the flows of a basketball game, and yes, we're going to talk about overreacting to one game. There's 82 of them. You're going to play games like this all season. It's just like if you've been around on this channel and you've heard me talk about the Astros in baseball, it's a lot like that. It is such a long season. But you can't consistently do things like this and expect, again, 1, the fan base to take you seriously, 2, the people on the fence to buy in, and then 3, the league to see you as a threat. And I kind of go back to the offseason again, and it was a weird offseason. They didn't really do a lot, right? They didn't go out and make a bunch of external additions to the team. And everything that we heard about this team, going into the offseason was that, they wanted to go out, they wanted to get better. They wanted to get a star. They wanted to get this. They wanted to get that. And, they draft Reed Shepherd. He barely plays tonight. 15 minutes for him? That's a little odd when you go look at the box score tonight. The minutes totals for Shepherd, that's not overly odd, I guess, because he's a rookie. 15 minutes for him. How about Cam Whitmore? Only played 8 minutes. Now, look, tonight was the kind of night that I look at, and you look at the way that the second half unfolded offensively. that's a Cam Whitmore kind of night right there. When you've got everybody coming out there and just chucking away and missing all the time, like, I think I'd rather have Cam Whitmore out there chucking, because when that guy can get hot, that thing can get electric. And it just, like I mentioned, he played 8 minutes. He played a total of, where am I looking at here? He played a total of minute and 24 in the second half. That's it. Reed Shepherd didn't play much either. And I'm not saying that those guys make the difference, but this team in general, they went out and they didn't make a lot of additions to this team. And in part, I get it. Like, they're still super young, and I try to always temper myself. I'm tired of the losing. I'm tired of being in the rebuild. I'm ready for the next stage, like all of you. And I don't know if they did enough to take the leap to the next level. It simply is going to come down to their young guys getting better, progressing even more. I mentioned Alpy earlier. I mean, Alpy didn't have an unbelievable night in terms of efficiency. He grabbed 11 rebounds in the first quarter, which is a career high, which is absolutely insane. And I'm not complaining. I mean, look, he still had to grab another 7. He only grabbed 7 the rest of the night. Okay? Ended up with 25 points. It's like he and others kind of just got, locked up. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pause for a second because I'm about to start sneezing. Excuse me for that. I'm probably going to have another one in a couple of minutes, because with me, they come in threes usually. That's what the Rockets made me do tonight. They made me get sneezy. How about that? And I don't even remember where I was at because that sneeze completely destroyed. Alpy, first half, pretty good, right? Pretty good. And, the second half of it, just, it's like he and the rest of the team, I'm telling you, it's like the confidence got completely sucked out of them. And they played like a team that lacked confidence in that third quarter. And again, these are the kind of things that make you go, how are you going to buy back into it? Again, I'm not saying he played the worst game in the world, but it wasn't. You just go pull up. I got the box scores here for just Alpy alone. First half versus the second half. His first half, he went for 4. No, that's LaMelo Ball. Sorry, he went for 19 and 13 in the first half. Second half for Alpy, he went for 6 and 5, and he was 3 of 9 from the field. And that's your bell cow, right? Like, he's your number one offensively. I know that we'll talk a little bit about it, the extensions here in a minute, because I did want to give my thoughts on it. They extended Alpy, they extended Jalen Green as well. Those two guys were high volume tonight and not high efficiency. They both scored. Those two produced over 50 points in the basketball game, which is the kind of stuff that the Rockets need every night, right? But then you go look at everybody else, and there was nobody else that really stepped up. Amen Thompson had a great first half, had 11 points, and then he was a big fat nothing. He scored 2 points after that first half. Dylan Brooks in the starting lineup had just 2 points tonight. Jabari Smith was awful. He had 8 points. Red Van Fleet was horrendous until the very end when he finally hit a couple of shots. He had 14. And then you got nothing else out of anybody else. As simple as that. They shot as a team 37% from the field, 30% from 3, 13 of 43. This team's not good enough to shoot that much from 3. We'll talk more about it here in just a second. I don't want to go too far into it. Let's talk a bit about the threes. Do they have enough to be a team that shoots like this consistently? We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. Tell you guys right now about FanDuel. You got all kinds of sports going on. You got this football action in the NFL. You've got, of course, basketball action. You still got some baseball going on. You got a lot, and FanDuel is the spot to get in on the action and make yourselves a little bit of money when you do doing it. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets. It's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Locked On Rockets Postcast. After a doozy of a start to the season, the Rockets fall 110-105 at the Toyota Center. To kick off the season tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Absolutely brutal. Hey, if you're looking for daily Rockets content, of course, where you find this show in terms of audio is anywhere. It's free. Anywhere that you get your podcast, go search Locked On Rockets. You'll get this show and the Locked On Rockets show. That is Jackson Gatlin. I'm sure he'll have some opinions about this one in his next episode coming out. But he does a great job, of course, covering your Rockets on a daily basis at practices, at the games. Lock in for Locked On Rockets. Watch this show when it's live and it's over. Hopefully we'll get to have Jackson on for a few games during the season if he's available to do so, and talk Rockets with him. He does, again, a great job. Make sure you go check out that show. And, hey, your favorite podcast, that Locked On Rockets podcast, they now have a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Rockets podcast daily newsletter. One stop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up now for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with all the new free Locked On Rockets newsletter. So again, go check that out. Rockets, like I mentioned tonight, 110-105, the final. I don't want to be doom and gloom. I don't want to be overreaction. You can see up there on the screen, put overreactions to 1 game. If I was going to play the overreaction game, tonight I would sit here and I would tell you, well, this team stinks. This team can't shoot. It's the same story over and over. You got to give them a minute. That's the truth. They're going to keep these games are going to keep chugging right along. They're going to play the Grizzlies on Friday, and then they got a back-to-back. That's a back-to-back. Then they go to San Antonio the next night for 2 straight in San Antonio. That's weird. The Rockets are so close to San Antonio. They're making them get both of their San Antonio games in San Antonio out of the way in the first week of the season. In fact, they're playing the Spurs 3 times in the first week and a half, 2 weeks of the season. NBA, man, sometimes the way that they schedule this season just absolutely blows my mind. Whatever. But you're rolling right into this thing. It's go. It's go. It's go. It's go. That's the good news. You don't have to sit around for long. I'd like to think that they'll shoot better than this. I would like that. But I still do have the question marks of can they consistently be a good shooting team? When we did the one show during the preseason, I talked about it a little bit. I just kind of roll through the lineup there and you look at it. Is Jabari Smith ever going to take a step forward in terms of being an offensive threat? I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think that Jabari Smith is going to be a focal point of your offense ever. And it's not it's like not the worst thing. I think given the expectation and the hope that you had for him coming out of college, and, I think at the time you kind of felt fortunate that he fell to the Rockets at 3 because you heard so much about him being the #1 pick. And, I just don't see the offensive game to be that kind of guy. If he can become a consistent three-point shooter, which I think was has been the most disappointing thing at times that he hasn't been, and he plays the defense that he does, great. That Dillon Brooks is never going to be an offensive force. Alpe is an offensive force. Typically, he's going to be pretty efficient down there as well. If he can knock down some threes, that'd be very helpful. Fred VanVleet can be one of the better three-point shooters on the team, but then Fred's also very capable of nights like this, like where he has a bunch of them in a row. The Jalen Green story is the Jalen Green story. I don't think that he's a cornerstone offensive piece. I think that he's a good scorer that can get – when he's hot, he's hot. He's just never going to shoot the way that you want him to shoot. He's going to be a guy that shoots around 40% from the field, and you're going to hope for like 33 from three. And like 5 for 15 tonight, 9 to 23 from the field. And I think you're always going to hope that he gets the line more and figures that out. As freakish athletic as it gets. And he's still, 22? That's where, again, I got to temper myself. But you got that. Tari Eason comes back tonight. We'll see how he performs moving forward, how much time he gets. Amen Thompson had a really good preseason. I am very intrigued by Amen Thompson. Like, the athletic skill set is pretty insane. He's, like Jalen Green, never going to be a shooter. I know that he's worked a lot at shooting the corner three and everything. You saw him actually knock down a corner three tonight. Went 1 to 2. But he's never going to be a guy that takes a lot of threes, and for good reason. So at what point does his game become predictable? I don't think that when you're as freakishly athletic as he is that you can ever be completely predictable. No, we talked about Reed Shepherd earlier. We talked about Cam Whitmore. Those are two guys that, I think can probably fill it up for you in terms of the three ball. But again, this is a team that, and I go back to the offseason when you watch a performance like this tonight where they go out and they shoot 13 of 43 from three, and they were really chucking them too there for a while. That is, it's not going to cut it. And it gets back to personnel. I don't think they have enough personnel to overcome how, poorly they're going to shoot most nights. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope that, I'm looking back at this at the end of the season, a lot like I did with the Astros during their regular season where they went out and they were looking like they weren't going to be a playoff team. I'm like, this team's not going to make the playoffs. I'm not going to make that proclamation for the Rockets, I can tell you that. But if they meet their expectation of being a playoff team, or I guess at the very least a play-in tournament team, it's a good step. And then you'll look at the end of the season and say, how do you get better from that? Let's talk about the extensions that they handed out. I did want to give a few thoughts on those, some final thoughts on this game tonight. Take a look at the next one against Memphis as well. So we continue to discuss the Rockets' dud of an opener, 110-105, blowing an 18-point lead at one point in the basketball game. More on that here in just a quick second on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. Do you like getting into the big events? I do. I know you do as well. And there's a great app to help you get into those events, and that is the Gametime app. Go download it right now. I'm telling you, it's going to be a game changer for you, that Gametime app. They put together so much for you there, whether it's the great feature, which you do have to go in and toggle in the app, but it shows the all-in pricing, which shows you the entire total up front. That way, when you get to checkout, you're not slammed with a bunch of surprise fees. You see everything from the jump right there on the Gametime app. Also, check out the seat views, where you can get the panoramic view of your seat in the app. You can get yourself ready for what it is that you're looking for every single time. It's going to be absolutely awesome, and then you're going to go to the games, and you're going to say, yeah, they got the games, they got the everything else right there ready for you in the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Well, you know what time it is. It's game time. Locked On Rockets Postcast continues. I am Michael Connor, your host. Appreciate you guys for stopping by tonight, whether you're live or you're watching this later on. We are with you after every single Rockets game, unless there's some sort of scheduling conflict, which it's not like baseball season where you get day games in the middle of the week where it makes it impossible to do. So I looked at the schedule the other day. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever it is, everything works out. We should be here for all the games, all season long. Of course, this weekend we'll also have Cougars football for you. We will also have Texans football. We will also have Rockets basketball. It's going to be a busy, busy weekend on this channel. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. So make sure that you are here on the Locked On Sports Houston page. Hit that subscribe button. Come on back. Don't be a stranger. We love having you here, and I'm greatly appreciative of you guys joining this channel, making this channel grow as fast as it has here in 2024. The sky is the limit for it. So keep hitting that subscribe button. Thank you again. Rockets losers tonight, 110-105. I guess they didn't get blown out, right? There's that. Last year on opening night against Orlando, I think they got blown out by, was it like 30 to start the season against Orlando? They didn't do that tonight against Memphis, or not Memphis, against Charlotte. I got the next game on my mind. So progress, I guess, maybe. It's just the tale of two halves. You go look at the box scores of the team. First half of this Rockets team tonight. Overall, again, it wasn't the most unbelievable first half, but they shot, actually it was pretty bad. 40% from the field, 31 from three. But they crushed on the boards in that first half, 31-23. They just took advantage of opportunities and just really looked great. Then you go to the second half. Overall, they shot 33% from the field and 29 from three. Oh, 6 of 21 in the second. And they missed their free throws. They 9 of 13 in the second half from the free throw line. Like, that kind of stuff can't happen either. Just can't. I mean, even like into the game there, and they get the ball, or they get the gift from Charlotte. And I think it was, who was it that fouled him? Was it Grant Williams, I think, that fouled Jalen Green on the three? 3 free throws, and it's a 2-point game. Okay? And he misses. And I hear that you could hear it on the TV there at the end that the Charlotte bench. Ball don't lie. Like, we watched the replay, dude. The rules say that you have to allow them to finish their shot. I mean, Jabari Smith's hand gets hit as he's shooting it, and then there's also no space for them to follow through on his shot. The ball didn't. There wasn't justice for the call. The call was correct. One of the things that drives me nuts sometimes, and it happens in all sports. It's not just basketball. I mean, football's got it bad now too. These guys flipping and flopping all over the place, and it's not just an NBA thing. The NBA guys have just been doing it for so long. They've been full-on European soccer on this thing for a very long time. And that one was like, okay, you fouled him. You fouled him. Why? You need a challenge. No, you don't. You fouled him. Rockets are going to look to bounce back in the next one. Like I mentioned, they're going to play Memphis in that one. Grizzlies, at the moment of this show going on, are currently beating the Utah Jazz by 10 in the third quarter. So they might be a 1-0 basketball team as they come to the Toyota Center for that one. I did want to give a couple quick thoughts before we get out of here on the extensions that were handed out yesterday. Alperen Sengun gets $185 million for 5 years. Jalen Green gets the unique contract for 3 and over $100. But the third year is not, or is a player option, I should say. I'm still surprised that they extended Jalen Green. I'm still surprised that he's here. I really thought that he was going to be traded in the offseason. And I will always reserve the right to be wrong. I hope that I am wrong. I just don't see him as – and look, the money that those two guys got isn't like – if you haven't been keeping up with the NBA all that closely the last couple of years, money is stupid in it. And, there's guys – like, to be a superstar now, you're making $50+ a year. It's just the truth. So $34 million or whatever a year for these guys. It's a lot, sure. But in terms of like where pay is in the NBA now, like It's crazy to almost say it. Like, you can be an average player in the league and get $25 million a year. It's just silly. I was glad that they got the Şengün one done, finished it, knocked it out. We'll just see if these guys are playing out these entire contracts here. I mean, the easy bet is on Şengün over Jalen Green. But we'll see. We shall see. All I know is that they have to continue to play better. Jalen Green has to be a little bit more consistent. I mean, they need him to play like the guy that he was at the end of the season last year. Play with his hair on fire those last few weeks. I mean, he averaged over the last month or 2 months, averaged 27 points per game. Actually shot the ball well. It was a complete opposite from what he was going through early in the season. That's the guy that they need to show up. And you and I will sit here and we'll do these shows, and we'll be happy most nights when it comes to Rockets basketball. Happy to get the first one out of the way for the regular season. Hate that we had to do it after a loss like that because that was not fun, but appreciate you guys stopping by again to watch the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Come back. We will be live again Friday night after Rockets and Grizzlies at the Toyota Center. 7 o'clock tip, so probably around the same time, 9:30-ish. We'll get going and then get you off to the rest of your night. Hope you guys, again, enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. We'll talk again Friday night right here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast.